I wasn't supposed to be home. That's the only reason I'm still alive. I'd driven halfway to work when I realized my wallet wasn't in my pocket. I remember being annoyed more than anything. Just another careless morning. I turned the car around, pulled into the driveway, and walked inside quietly. The house felt normal, safe, familiar, until I heard her voice, soft, intimate, coming from our bedroom. "We'll increase the dose tonight," Emily whispered. I froze in the hallway. A man answered her. Comfortable. "He hasn't noticed?" My chest tightened. Emily gave a quiet laugh. The same one she used when she curled against me on cold nights. "No," she said. "Ryan trusts me." My name sounded wrong in her mouth. Foreign. Disposable. I didn't move. Didn't breathe. The hallway suddenly felt like thin ice beneath my feet. "Soon," she continued softly, "everything will be ours. Ours. Not mine. Not his. Ours." My fingers slowly relaxed from the doorframe. Years of marriage collapsed into that single word. I stepped backward silently and left the house without letting them hear me exist. Outside, I sat in my car and stared at my hands. They weren't shaking. That scared me more than anything. Then my phone buzzed. "Emily, hey babe, red heart, did you make it to work safe?" I stared at the message and realized my wife had just lied to me while standing 10 feet away. I didn't confront her. Not because I was afraid. Because I needed her to feel safe. People make mistakes when they feel safe. I waited exactly 12 minutes, then walked back inside, this time letting the front door close normally. My keys hit the bowl on the console table with their usual metallic clink. I called out casually. Footsteps. Then the bedroom door opened. She stepped into the hallway, adjusting her hair, her face already wearing the version of herself she wanted me to see. Warm. Familiar. Loyal. "Hey," she smiled. "You forgot something?" Her eyes flicked to my hands. Checking. Measuring. "My wallet," I said, lifting it slightly. She laughed softly. "You'd forget your own head if I didn't remind you." She stepped closer and kissed my cheek. Her lips were warm. "Practiced? Perfect." "I thought you had Pilates," I said. "It ended early," she replied smoothly. No hesitation. Not even half a second. She walked past me into the kitchen, completely at ease. Too at ease. She grabbed 2 mugs from the cabinet. Her movements were calm. Routine. Then she asked without looking at me, "How are you feeling today?" Not, "How was your drive?" Not, "Why did you come back?" "How are you feeling?" My chest tightened. Because suddenly, that question didn't sound like concern. It sounded like data collection. That night, I pretended to fall asleep before her. Emily stayed beside me, scrolling on her phone, the screen light reflecting in her eyes. Every few seconds, she glanced at me. Watching. Waiting. I slowed my breathing. Made it heavy. Predictable. Believable. After 10 minutes, she reached over and gently touched my shoulder. Testing. I didn't move. Another minute passed. Then she quietly slipped out of bed. The bedroom door opened with slow precision, then clicked shut just as carefully. I waited 5 seconds. Then followed. The hallway was dark, but her voice carried from the kitchen in a low whisper. "Yes," she said. "He's asleep." My stomach tightened. "No," she continued softly. "He hasn't noticed anything." Pause. Then she added, quieter this time. "I increased it last week. Like you told me." Increased it. My hand pressed against the wall to steady myself. The man's voice answered through her phone. I couldn't hear the words clearly, but I heard her response. "I know," she whispered. "But once it's done, everything transfers to me anyway." Transfers. Not shares. Transfers. Ownership. Finality. I stepped backward silently before the floor could betray me. Back into the bedroom. Back into the bed she shared with me. Minutes later, she returned and laid beside me again. Her hand rested gently on my chest. Feeling my heartbeat. Tracking it. Waiting. And in that moment, I realized something that turned my blood cold. She wasn't afraid of losing me. She was preparing to replace me. Morning came like nothing had happened. Emily stood at the kitchen counter, sunlight falling across her shoulders as she stirred a cup of coffee. She looked peaceful. Ordinary. Dangerous. "Morning," she said softly when she saw me. Her smile was effortless. I forced one back. She turned and held out the mug. "I made yours." I took it slowly. The ceramic was warm. Familiar. The same mug I'd used every morning for years. I watched her face carefully. No fear. No hesitation. Only patience. Waiting. I raised the mug halfway, then paused. "Did you already have yours?" She nodded casually and lifted her own cup. But I noticed something. Her coffee was lighter. More cream. Mine was darker. Untouched. She was watching my hands now. Not openly, but closely. Measuring. I brought the mug to my lips and let it hover there for a second. Then I lowered it. Still hot, I said. She smiled gently. Give it a minute. Her voice was calm. Controlled. Confident. Like she knew time was on her side. I set the mug on the counter and walked toward the sink, pretending to rinse something. Her shoulders relaxed slightly behind me. Relief. That's when I understood the truth fully. She didn't need to rush. Because in her mind, I was already dying on schedule. I stopped drinking anything she gave me after that. Not abruptly. That would have raised suspicion. Carefully. Strategically. I'd bring the mug to my lips. Tilt it slightly. Let her see the motion. Then I'd leave it behind when she wasn't looking. Pour it down the sink. Into the soil of the plant on the back porch. Anywhere but inside me. Emily never questioned it. Because she didn't think she needed to. 3 days later, I went to a private clinic across town during lunch. Paid cash. No insurance trail. No explanations. The nurse drew my blood. Asked routine questions. I gave routine answers. 2 hours later, she returned with a paper in her hand and a different expression on her face. Mr. Calloway, she said carefully, are you prescribed any sedatives? No. She hesitated. Then showed me the results. Elevated benzodiazepine levels. Consistent exposure. Repeated dosing. The words blurred together after that. Not suspicion. Not theory. Proof. I walked back to my car and sat there staring at the steering wheel. My phone buzzed. Emily, did you drink your coffee this morning? Red heart. Not, how's your day? Not, I love you. Just that. I stared at the message for a long time. She wasn't worried about me. She was monitoring her progress. And for the first time since I met her, I realized she believed she was winning. I hired a lawyer the same day. Not just any lawyer. Someone Emily trusted. Nathan Pierce had been our attorney for years. He handled our home purchase, our wills, our joint accounts. He'd sat across from us at dinner once, laughing at Emily's jokes. He never expected to hear what I told him. She's been drugging me, I said, placing the toxicology report in front of him. He didn't interrupt. Didn't react immediately. He read every line first. Then looked up. Do not confront her, he said calmly. Not yet. That word mattered. Yet. He explained everything carefully. Evidence. Documentation. Timeline. Protection. If I confronted her now, she'd deny everything. If I waited, she'd expose herself. That night, I came home and played my role perfectly. Slower movements. Longer pauses. Forgetting small things intentionally. Emily noticed. I saw it in her eyes. Relief. Confirmation. At dinner, she watched me struggle slightly with my fork. You okay? She asked softly. Concern in her voice. Interest in her eyes. I nodded weakly. Just tired. She reached across the table and squeezed my hand. Comforting. Reassuring. Cruel. Because in her mind it was working. She was already living in the future she wanted. The one where I wasn't there anymore. She smiled at me gently. And I smiled back. Because she had no idea. I had already started removing her from everything. Nathan worked fast. Within 48 hours, everything was in motion. My individual accounts were secured. My life insurance beneficiary was changed. My will was rewritten. Every asset she thought she'd inherit was already out of her reach. Legally. Quietly. Irreversibly. At home, Emily continued her routine. Coffee every morning. Her soft voice. Her careful watching. Her patience. She thought she was ahead. One night, she handed me my mug and stood there longer than usual. You've seemed weaker lately, she said gently. I nodded slowly. Just tired. She stepped closer, resting her hand on my chest. Feeling my heartbeat. Counting. Waiting. I'm here, she whispered. The words sounded comforting. But they weren't for me. They were for her. Reassurance that her plan was still on track. Later that night, she fell asleep beside me. Her breathing deep. Peaceful. Certain. I waited until 2:14 a.m. Then I carefully took her phone from the nightstand. Her fingerprint unlocked it instantly. She never imagined she needed to hide anything from a dying man. Her messages were exactly where I expected. One number. No name. I opened the conversation. And the last message she sent made everything inside me go cold. He's getting worse. Soon, everything will be mine. Not ours. Mine. And that's when I knew. It was time to end this. I didn't confront her immediately. I gave her one more morning. Emily stood in the kitchen, humming softly, sunlight warming her face as she stirred my coffee. She looked peaceful. Certain. Like the ending had already been written. She turned and handed me the mug. Here, she said gently. I took it, held it, then set it down untouched. I need to show you something, I said calmly. She froze. Not visibly. But I saw it in her eyes. Fear. I placed the toxicology report on the counter between us. She looked at the paper. Then at me. Then back at the paper. Her lips parted slightly. No words came out. I know, I said quietly. The room went silent. Her entire body changed. Not panic. Not yet. Calculation. Searching for a way out. But there wasn't one. I've already spoken to an attorney, I continued. Everything is documented. Still silence. Still that same paper between us. She wasn't looking at me anymore. She was looking at the end. Because in that moment she understood something she never expected. She hadn't been watching me die. I had been watching her expose herself. I picked up my keys and walked toward the door. She didn't follow. Didn't speak. Didn't move. Because for the first time since I'd known her, she wasn't in control anymore.